So you don't want to break the bank, but you want to get the most cinematic footage possible. In this video, I will go over the 5 ways that I get the most cinematic footage no matter what gear I'm using. Make sure you stick around until the end where I will give you my best cheap alternatives that I've been using for years. Number 1 is to learn your camera. If you really want to get the most out of what you have, you need to learn all of the ways that you can use your own specific camera. For me, I like to start out by watching YouTube videos on different shooting modes or what settings mean what, and then I focus on just going out in the field and testing the limits of the camera. Maybe your camera has really good low light, so that means you can go and use it in darker environments. Or maybe your camera has a big zoom range like a camcorder, so you can use that to hone in and focus on a certain part of the image. But learning your camera will get you to a solid beginning point. That way you can forget about all of these small things and focus more on getting that cinematic image. Tip number 2 is lighting. And when you think about what cameras are really doing, they are just machines that are capturing light. And by thinking about it like this, we can shift our focus from what's in the frame to how the frame is lit. The best way to get more filmic and cinematic footage when it comes to light is to shoot on the shadow side. This will get you the most depth and dimension to your footage. A common mistake I see when people do this is they try and backlight their subject with the sun or a strong light right behind them. However, this will just blow out the sky and make your subject too dark. So what you should do is shoot at about a 45-degree angle to the light, almost as if you were creating a triangle with your subject, your light, and your camera. This will help maintain some of the highlights on the subject, keep your sky intact, and create an overall better looking image. Tip number 3 is composition. This is simply the arrangement of elements in your video. Going back to what I said earlier, there are 2 parts of a scene: how it's lit and now what's in it. Now that you are shooting on the shadow side, we can focus on how to make sure your scene is looking good. Number 1 is to focus on the weight of the frame. The rule of thirds can be very helpful for this. This grid splits your frame into 9 sections so you can evenly distribute the weight of the frame, or you can use it to unevenly distribute it. Using the rule of thirds on most of your shots will help you not only convey the emotion you want the audience to feel, but also be one step closer to achieving that Hollywood cinematic look. Tip number 4 is set design. And when I say this, I don't mean you need to go and build or design sets, or you need to go spend a ton of money on conveying a certain mood in your shots. All I mean is just taking the extra time to focus on the environment in your frame and how you can use that to your advantage. Another small tip is whenever you're shooting, don't get so hung up on one exact angle. Shoot into all the different directions or even use different heights, because these small little things can completely change the look of a space. Tip number 5 is cheap alternatives. A lot of us have definitely had these great ideas for videos, but we fall short on the budget. However, there are workarounds in everything in videography, so here are just a couple that I've used throughout my cinematography career. One is setting your camera on a skateboard and creating a dolly effect. This right here was a music video I did a long time ago, and I had my camera sitting on a gimbal, which wasn't actually on, it was just a smaller tripod, and we used caution tape to slowly roll it back. This ended up being one of my favorite shots because it was so simple, but it was also a perfect intro in showing off the scene. The next cheap alternative is lens whacking. This is where you grab your lens and you flip it around, that way the front end is right in front of your sensor. This allows you to get these extreme macro shots. So if you don't actually have a macro lens, or your lens doesn't have very good close focus, this is the perfect alternative. I use this a lot whenever I want to get the close-ups of words on a screen or close-ups of people's eyes, because it has an almost identical effect without having to buy another lens. The final cheap alternative is to just use windows as your lighting, and you can use them as your key light or as a good way to light up your whole scene. But a way that I personally like to use them is to use the harsh light coming in as a way to separate my subject from the background. Learning how to use window light has drastically helped me in getting better shots because you don't need any extra equipment. All you need is your camera, you, and your subject. Comment down below if you have ever used any of these 5 tips in your own work, and please like and subscribe for new videos every single Monday. And if you're interested in more of my videos, go check out this one on why free work is so important. But again, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next Monday. That shit was rough.